The sky over Earth was peaceful. No unusual disturbances. No signs of invasion. After years of conflict and uncertainty, humanity had finally found a moment of peace. The dust from past wars had settled, and Earth was starting to heal. Nations were working together to rebuild, and humanity's technological advancements were reaching new heights. It was a time of progress, a time of hope. But that all changed one quiet morning. A strange signal appeared on Earth's radar. It was faint at first, nothing more than a small blip in the far reaches of space. The scientists at the Earth Defense Command thought it was a glitch, a miscalculation, perhaps. However, as the signal grew stronger, the reality set in. Something was approaching Earth, something big, and it wasn't from any friendly neighbor in the galaxy. The signal was unlike anything the scientists had ever encountered. It wasn't a ship they recognized, nor was it a simple asteroid or comet. It was something powerful, and its trajectory suggested it was headed straight for Earth. By the time the United Earth government received the report, the object was already entering the solar system. Earth's leaders were in a state of confusion. How could something so massive go undetected for so long? The communication channels buzzed with frantic voices, each trying to make sense of the situation. The object was moving too fast, too deliberately, to be natural. It had to be a ship, a fleet. The realization hit hard. Humanity had always assumed that the universe was a vast, mostly empty space. Just stars, planets, and the occasional alien species. Earth had never been a target. Until now. The Galactic Council, the most powerful force in the galaxy, was on its way, and it was bringing an armada. The first wave of ships entered Earth's atmosphere just hours later. These ships were massive, their forms sleek and imposing, designed for total domination. Each one was larger than anything humanity had ever built. They didn't just fill the sky, they commanded it. These ships weren't just here for reconnaissance or diplomacy. They were here for something else, something far worse. Humanity's first reaction was confusion. They weren't sure what was happening or how to respond. The fleet overhead seemed endless, stretching far beyond the horizon. It felt like the end. The people of Earth watched in awe and fear as the ships loomed above them, blocking out the sun. But the leaders of Earth, those who had been planning and preparing for something like this for years, understood the gravity of the situation. The Galactic Council had arrived with one purpose: to conquer Earth. The Council's voice echoed across the planet, transmitted through every major communication channel. A cold, calculated voice filled every room, every home, every street. Humanity has no place in the galaxy. Your time is up. The message was clear. Earth's resources were theirs for the taking. The Galactic Council was here to strip the planet bare, to claim Earth as their own. The people of Earth, the beings who had struggled for so long to find peace, were now being told they would lose everything. But humanity didn't panic. The citizens, confused at first, found reassurance in the calm responses of their leaders. This wasn't the first time Earth had been threatened, and it wasn't going to be the last. But what the Galactic Council didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for this very day. A day when the power of the universe would come to claim Earth as a prize. Humanity had been silently working, building, and planning, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. In the darkest corners of Earth, humanity had developed technology beyond anything the Council had ever seen. They had studied their enemies, learned from their mistakes, and prepared for the day that they would face a force like the Galactic Council. Earth's defense system was more than ready for this challenge. They had a secret fleet, one so powerful, it would shake the galaxy to its core. The Council's ships, large and imposing, might have been terrifying to anyone else, but not to humanity. Earth's people had faced far worse in the past, and they had survived. They had a history of overcoming impossible odds. And this time, it wasn't going to be different. The countdown had begun. The Galactic Council, proud and overconfident in their power, had underestimated the resilience of humanity. What they didn't realize was that Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. The time for peace had passed. The time for negotiations was over. The Galactic Council might have come to claim Earth, but humanity wasn't about to roll over. They would fight for their survival. They would fight for their future. They would fight for the future of every human being on Earth. And as the first human fleet, hidden deep within the planet, powered up and ascended into space, the true power of humanity was about to be unleashed. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming for them. Humanity was ready, and they were about to show the galaxy what it meant to challenge Earth. The Galactic Council's ships were an awe-inspiring sight, hanging over Earth like a storm ready to break. The towering fleet of massive, gleaming vessels filled the sky, blocking out the sun, casting the planet in shadow. The people of Earth stared upward in disbelief. A force like this had never been seen before. The ships were so large that they could be seen from every corner of the planet. The Galactic Council, with its hundreds of alien races, had come to Earth with one mission: to conquer, to take control, to strip the planet of its resources. But despite the overwhelming sight, the people of Earth did not flinch. Something about the way the fleet hovered above them, imperious and silent, felt wrong. There was no immediate attack, no sudden barrage of lasers or missiles, no explosions or destruction. It was almost as if they were waiting for something, or someone. The message from the Council rang out again, amplified across the globe, its icy, authoritarian tone still echoing in the air. This is your final warning. Surrender your planet and all its resources, or face complete annihilation. For most, that would have been the moment to panic. That would have been the moment to fall to their knees and plead for mercy. But Earth didn't react like that. There were no cries for help, no frantic requests for intervention. Instead, a cold calm spread over the planet. Leaders gathered in underground bunkers, eyes flickering with the weight of the situation. There was no fear. They had seen this moment coming. The Galactic Council had no idea who they were dealing with. On the surface, the people of Earth waited. But in the hidden chambers below, humanity's true weapon was being activated. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, in secret bases unknown to the Council, Earth's most advanced fleet was preparing for the impossible. Built in silence, hidden from the prying eyes of the galaxy, this fleet was far beyond anything the Council could imagine. Ships crafted from the most cutting-edge technology, weapons designed not just to defend, but to destroy. The first strike would come soon. The Galactic Council had no idea what was about to hit them. As the Council's commanders monitored the situation from their command centers aboard their flagship, they noticed something strange. The Earth's atmosphere was beginning to ripple. There was a shift in the air, a tension that couldn't be explained. They were too confident, too assured of their impending victory. They couldn't fathom that anything could threaten them. They were the Galactic Council. Who could possibly stand against them? And yet, as the minutes ticked by, the sense of unease grew. The strange disturbances in Earth's atmosphere turned into something more, something undeniable. A presence like a storm gathering, something powerful and undeniable, was forming in the depths of space. The Galactic Council's flagship, the largest ship in their fleet, had no idea that Earth was hiding a secret fleet of its own, a fleet with technology that was far more advanced than anything the Council had seen before. Humanity had been preparing for this very moment. Their ships had been hidden deep underground, concealed for years, waiting for the day when Earth would be tested. The time for negotiation was over. The countdown had begun. Without warning, a massive flash of light shot up from Earth's surface. It wasn't a missile, nor was it a weapon anyone had ever seen before. This was something different, something uniquely human. In the depths of space, the Galactic Council fleet witnessed something they would never forget. An explosion of energy so powerful, it sent ripples across the fabric of space. The energy beam hit the closest ship in the fleet, sending it spiraling off course, its systems overwhelmed by the sheer force of the strike. A shockwave reverberated through the Galactic Council's ships, sending alarms blaring throughout the fleet. The commanders on board looked in shock as their sensors failed to register the energy readings coming from Earth. The force of the blast had been so immense, they had no idea how to respond. Humanity's fleet, hidden from the Council's radar, had just made its first move. As the Galactic Council scrambled to comprehend the situation, their ships tried to retaliate, launching counterattacks and energy beams at the source of the strike. But it was too late. Earth had already prepared for the worst. The first wave of their fleet, more than ready to engage, emerged from the atmosphere, gliding silently into space, ready for battle. And the Council's shock grew as Earth's ships, sleek and powerful, began their own attack. The ships weren't just defenders. They were designed for destruction. In moments, Earth's hidden fleet was engaging the Galactic Council's armada, shaking the very core of their pride and power. The Galactic Empire, once confident in their dominance, was now reeling in disbelief. They had underestimated humanity. The Galactic Council had come expecting a weak, primitive planet, easy to conquer, easy to subdue. Instead, they had unleashed the fury of a people who had spent years in silence, hidden from their gaze, and now they would know the true strength of humanity. This was no longer about resources. This was about survival. And Earth was not about to give in. As the first battle in space unfolded, the fate of the galaxy was being rewritten. The Galactic Council might have been prepared for anything, except for humanity's unyielding resolve. The Galactic Council's flagship, once the symbol of their unchallenged power, now lay under a bombardment of firepower from Earth's hidden fleet. Panic was starting to seep into the ranks of the Council, something no one had anticipated. They had always seen themselves as the uncontested rulers of the galaxy, and Earth, to them, was a distant and inconsequential planet. But that had all changed in an instant. On board the flagship, the Council's top commanders scrambled to assess the situation. Their sensors were malfunctioning, unable to calculate the sheer magnitude of the attack they were facing. Their enemy, Earth, wasn't retreating. They weren't pleading for peace. They were fighting back with a fury that sent shockwaves through the fleet. The first attack was only the beginning. Humanity's fleet, hidden, prepared, and now fully engaged, continued to unleash wave after wave of devastating firepower. The Galactic Council was no longer just facing a battle. They were facing the reality that Earth had come prepared to do whatever it took to defend their world. "We underestimated them," one of the Council's generals muttered, staring in disbelief at the battle unfolding in front of him. His voice was laced with fear, something he hadn't known in decades. This was supposed to be easy, but it wasn't. As the chaos of the battle spread, the Council's ships were now scrambling to reorganize and retaliate. They fired at will, launching volleys of missiles and energy blasts, but nothing was slowing the relentless assault from Earth's fleet. The human ships were nimble, striking with precision, like a deadly swarm of wasps that wouldn't back down. Earth's ships weren't designed for defense. They were designed for offensive power. And each strike they made only added to the mounting pressure on the Galactic Council. Back on Earth, the leaders and military commanders watched the battle unfold on massive screens. What they saw filled them with both pride and resolve. Their fleet was holding its ground. The Council had thought Earth was an easy target, but they were learning a different story. The people of Earth didn't need to ask for peace. They had something the Galactic Council didn't understand: unity. A shared purpose that stretched across continents, nations, and ideologies. It was humanity's greatest strength. In the heart of Earth's military command center, the chief strategist, General Kale, issued orders to deploy the next phase of their plan. The first wave of defense had bought them time, but they needed more than that to secure their victory. They needed to show the Council that this war would not be won easily. "Prepare the shockwave generators," General Kale commanded, his voice steady and calm. "We're not just going to push them back. We're going to send them a message. A deep rumble echoed beneath Earth's surface as massive generators were activated. These were weapons the Galactic Council hadn't anticipated. No one had. Earth's military engineers had worked tirelessly to develop these shockwave generators, massive devices that could send bursts of energy across vast distances, disrupting enemy ship systems and destabilizing their command structures. The shockwaves hit the Galactic Council's fleet like a hammer to glass. Ships that were once near the front lines were suddenly disabled, their systems crashing, communications silenced. A few were sent spinning uncontrollably into space, their crew helpless as they drifted away from the battle. The confusion and chaos among the Council's forces grew. The shockwaves continued to disrupt their ability to coordinate. The once organized ranks of the Council's fleet now looked like a disorganized mob, scrambling to recover. "Retreat," shouted a voice from the command center of the flagship. "We can't win this fight. Fall back. We need to regroup." But it was too late. Earth's fleet was closing in. The shockwaves had thrown the Council's forces into disarray. And now, Earth's ships, fully prepared for this very moment, moved in for the final strike. The Galactic Council, which had arrogantly assumed victory was within their grasp, was now faced with the horrifying reality that they had severely underestimated their enemy. Humanity was fighting back in ways that no one could have predicted. The battle, which had started with Earth on the defensive, was now turning into a fight for the Council's very survival. As the Galactic Council's ships began to retreat, one by one, humanity's fleet followed them relentlessly. It wasn't over yet. The tides of the battle had shifted, and now Earth's forces were determined to make sure that the Council would never threaten their planet again. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, they had to confront the reality that their power had limits, and humanity had just shown them where those limits were. But this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council might have been retreating, but they weren't giving up, and Earth was preparing for whatever came next. With humanity's fleet now in control, the next chapter of this conflict would be even more intense. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming, and they had no idea that the one thing they feared most was not their advanced weapons or fleets, but the unbreakable will of the human race. The Galactic Council had thought it was in control. They believed their overwhelming fleet, their advanced technology, and their centuries of experience in galactic conquest would make Earth's resistance a fleeting moment, a blip in the history of their dominance. But the tide had turned, and now, the very same Council, with all its power and arrogance, was on the verge of a catastrophic defeat. As Earth's fleet advanced, the vastness of their forces became undeniable. The retreating Council ships scattered in panic, trying to regroup in the farthest corners of the galaxy. But Earth's military wasn't content with just pushing them back. They were preparing for something far more devastating. The leaders of Earth knew that this moment was their only chance to secure their future, to ensure the safety of their world, and to send a message that would echo through the galaxy. "Prepare the fleet for the final assault." General Kell's voice echoed in the command center, sharp and unwavering. "We strike now. We end this." With a single order, the battle was about to reach its most intense phase. The shockwave generators had already crippled the Council's ships, but the humans had something more, a secret weapon, one that had been developed in the deepest, most secure labs on Earth. It was a weapon that had never been used before, a game changer that would alter the balance of power forever. And it was time for its first test. The weapon was launched without hesitation. High above Earth, hidden in the vast blackness of space, a large energy pulse shot into the sky. The pulse traveled at an incredible speed, tearing through space with the kind of force that could shatter a fleet. It was a long-range laser weapon, designed not to just disable enemy ships, but to obliterate them in an instant. The pulse found its target, a massive Galactic Council dreadnought that had been the cornerstone of their strategy. The Council had no time to react. The dreadnought, once an imposing symbol of the Council's might, was reduced to rubble in a single blinding burst of energy. The shockwave rippled outward, destabilizing nearby ships, sending them careening out of control. "Impossible!" screamed one of the Council's commanders, watching in disbelief as the debris of their once proud flagship floated in space. How did they do this? The remaining Council ships hesitated, thrown into disarray by the sudden destruction of their most powerful warship. For the first time, doubt crept into their minds. They had underestimated Earth's capabilities, thinking humanity was still in the dark ages of space warfare. Now they realized that Earth had been holding back, waiting for the right moment to strike. And strike they did. The fleet from Earth pressed on, their ships moving with precision and speed, sweeping across the battlefield like a storm. There was no mercy in their assault. Earth's forces were methodical, ruthless, and they didn't care who or what stood in their way. They were defending their planet, their home. And there was nothing more dangerous than a species fighting for its survival. As more Galactic Council ships were torn apart, the surviving members of the fleet began to break ranks. They were retreating, their once proud formations crumbling under the weight of humanity's relentless onslaught. The Council's supreme commanders, who had once looked down on Earth as insignificant, were now begging for a way out. Their only hope was to regroup, but Earth wasn't giving them that luxury. The fight was turning into a massacre. No one expected this, not even humanity's own commanders. General Kale stared at the live feeds, watching as the Galactic Council's forces were decimated one by one. "They never saw us coming," Kale muttered, more to himself than anyone else in the room. "This is the end for them." And it could have been. But despite the carnage, the Galactic Council wasn't completely beaten yet. They had a final card to play, one that could change the course of the battle, but it would come at a steep price. The Council's final weapon was not a fleet or technology. It was a secret alliance with an ancient and feared species, a species so powerful that even the Council had to tread lightly around them. This species was known as the Ferex, a race of hyper-aggressive warriors with an insatiable thirst for domination. And now, the Council was calling on them to turn the tide. In the deepest parts of space, away from Earth's sensors, the Ferric fleet was preparing for battle. But what the Council didn't know was that Earth's intelligence network had already caught wind of their plan. As the Council's ships pulled back, Earth's fleet remained relentless. The humans knew that the Ferex were coming, and they had a countermeasure prepared. Humanity had always been underestimated, but they had learned over the years to expect the unexpected and to be ready. The Galactic Council's final hope was about to be crushed, and Earth was about to show them that no matter what they threw at humanity, the will to survive would always be stronger. The Galactic Council's last-ditch effort was not going to be easy. Their hope now rested on the Ferex, a fierce, merciless race of warriors known for their unparalleled combat prowess. The Ferex were humanity's worst nightmare, a race of beings who lived for the thrill of battle and destruction. They were the ultimate weapon that the Council had kept in reserve for moments like this, and they had already begun their journey to the battlefield. But what the Council didn't realize was that Earth had already prepared for this very moment. Humanity's scientists, engineers, and strategists had anticipated every move the Galactic Council might make. The battle plans had been laid out long before the Ferex were even called into the fray. General Kale knew the Council's desperation would lead them to summon the Ferex, and he had a response ready, one that would surprise even the most seasoned warriors in the galaxy. "Activate the Excalibur Protocol," Kale ordered, his voice cold and unwavering as he gazed out at the unfolding battle in front of him. Excalibur was a covert operation, a secret weapon that had been kept hidden from the rest of the galaxy. It was Earth's trump card, a series of stealth ships designed to infiltrate and disable any threat, no matter how large or powerful. These ships were equipped with advanced cloaking technology that made them nearly invisible to enemy sensors. They could enter enemy space undetected and strike with precision, leaving no trace behind. As Cal's command was carried out, the Excalibur ships moved silently through space, their cloaking fields rendering them invisible to the naked eye. Earth's fleet was still in full swing, pushing the remnants of the Council's forces back. But Kale knew the real danger was still to come. The Ferex were about to arrive, and they would not be as easy to defeat as the Council's warships. The Ferex were notorious for their brutal and unpredictable tactics. They didn't fight by the rules. They fought to kill, to conquer, and to annihilate. Their ships were massive, their technology ruthless, and their warriors merciless. If they entered the battle now, it could shift the tide in favor of the Galactic Council. But humanity was not going to allow that to happen. As the Ferric fleet arrived on the outskirts of the battle, they were met with an unexpected sight. Earth's fleet had already begun to move into position, as if anticipating their every move. The Ferex were known for their ability to read enemy strategies and counterattack with deadly precision, but they were unprepared for the human ingenuity that had been set in motion. Without warning, the Excalibur ships launched their attack. The first Ferric warship exploded in a violent burst of light as the stealth ships fired their devastating energy beams. The Ferric fleet, though powerful, was caught off guard. The attack was swift, precise, and brutal. Within moments, the Ferex realized that they were being outmaneuvered by an enemy they had underestimated. The Ferric ships retaliated, sending waves of energy blasts toward Earth's fleet. But Cal had already anticipated their every move. He prepared Earth's defenses to handle even the most vicious of opponents. Shielding systems activated, deflecting the Ferric energy blasts with ease. The humans were prepared, and the Ferex were starting to realize they had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. "What is this?" shouted one of the Ferric commanders, their voice filled with confusion and rage. "These humans are..." Before they could finish their thought, the Excalibur ship struck again, destroying another Ferric warship in a flash of bright, destructive energy. The Ferric fleet was crumbling, and their warriors began to retreat, unsure of how to handle this new, unforeseen threat. They had never encountered anything like this before. As the battle continued, Earth's forces pressed forward with relentless determination. The Council's retreat had left them vulnerable, and humanity's final push was unstoppable. The Ferex, who had been the Galactic Council's last hope, were now being pushed back, demoralized, confused, and outclassed by the very species they had once considered beneath them. But the battle wasn't over yet. The Galactic Council, now reeling from the unexpected turn of events, began to panic. The Ferex were retreating, their warships scattering in every direction, unable to hold their ground against the might of Earth's unexpected weaponry. The Council's once unstoppable forces were faltering, and they knew it. In a last-ditch effort, the Council attempted to negotiate. A message was broadcasted across the vastness of space, directed at Earth's fleet. They begged for peace, pleading with humanity to cease their attack and allow them to negotiate a settlement. But General Kale knew the truth. Earth had had enough. The Galactic Council had shown their true colors, and humanity had no reason to trust them. "We've given them a chance," Kale muttered to himself, staring out at the battle unfolding before him. "It's time to end this." The countdown to the final assault began. Earth's fleet, fueled by a deep-seated resolve to protect their world and their future, prepared for the last, decisive strike. The Ferex had been nothing but a tool. The Galactic Council, once a powerful force in the galaxy, was now on the verge of extinction. And humanity, they were about to secure their place as the new, unstoppable power in the galaxy. The final victory was within their grasp. The countdown had begun, and there was no turning back. The tide of the battle had shifted. The Ferric fleet, once a symbol of terror and chaos, was now nothing more than a broken shell of its former self. The once mighty ships were being torn apart by the precise, relentless attacks of Earth's fleet. Their retreat had been swift, but it was too late to reverse the damage. The Galactic Council, realizing they had no other option, made their final desperate move. The Council's most influential representatives, those who had once looked down on humanity as insignificant, were now reduced to pleading for mercy. Their defeat had been inevitable, but they had never imagined it would come at the hands of a species they had underestimated for so long. The message was sent, broadcast across the galaxy with urgency. The Council's diplomats, their voices filled with panic, begged for negotiations, for peace, for a chance to save their empire from total destruction. "We are willing to talk. We want peace," came the transmission. The Council's leader, a being known only as Relor, spoke with desperation in his voice. "We never meant to push you this far. We were wrong. You have proven your strength. You have shown us that we cannot defeat you. Please, we ask you to listen. Stop the attack, and we will negotiate. You can have what you want. You can have all the resources you desire." On Earth's flagship, General Kale listened intently to the message. His face, normally calm and resolute, showed no sign of sympathy. He knew this moment was coming. The Council had underestimated humanity's resolve. They had thought they could bully Earth into submission, using force and intimidation to get what they wanted. Now, they were begging for mercy. The silence on Earth's fleet was palpable. The hum of the engines, the chatter of the communication officers, everything had quieted. Kale stood at the helm of the bridge, eyes fixed on the incoming transmission. His fingers hovered over the control panel, ready to make the call that would end the Council's reign. "We've given them time," Kale muttered under his breath. "Too much time." The Council had refused to acknowledge humanity's strength when it had first arrived at their doorstep. They had refused to negotiate in good faith, choosing instead to send wave after wave of forces, intending to break humanity's spirit. Now, after watching their mighty fleets crumble and their last-ditch efforts fail, they were willing to admit defeat. But humanity had changed. They were no longer the species that relied on mere survival. Earth had evolved beyond the need for constant struggle. Now, humanity was about to take its rightful place in the galaxy as a force to be reckoned with. Kale was a man of logic and strategy. He understood the value of negotiation, but he also understood that the Galactic Council had shown no respect for Earth's sovereignty, no respect for humanity's will. They had hoped to conquer Earth, strip it of its resources, and subjugate its people. Now, they wanted to beg for peace. It was too little, too late. "Captain, do not respond to their transmission just yet," Kale said, his voice calm but firm. He turned toward his crew, locking eyes with each officer. "We will not stop the attack." They had their chance. There was no hesitation in the officers' expressions. They had all witnessed the destruction of the Ferric fleet, the crippling of the Galactic Council's forces. They had all seen the enemy's desperation, and they knew that stopping now would only send a message of weakness, a message that Earth could be manipulated, that humanity could be coerced into surrender. Instead, General Kale made the decision to send a message of his own. He turned to the communications officer and issued the command, "Send our message." Broadcast it across the galaxy. The message was simple, yet powerful. Humanity has had enough. We have been pushed to the brink, and we will not be coerced into submission. The Galactic Council will fall. There is no peace, only the inevitable end of an empire that should never have existed. This is your final warning. The transmission was sent. The message was clear. Earth would not be silenced. Humanity was not some meek species to be walked over. The Galactic Council had dared to challenge Earth's strength, and now they were paying the price. Relor, listening in disbelief, could barely comprehend the words. The realization hit him like a wave. This was no longer a negotiation. This was the end. The Galactic Council's influence was crumbling, and humanity was standing tall, unshaken, undeterred, and unstoppable. As the transmission cut off, the final pieces of the Galactic Council's fleet began to fall. The once proud ships, now powerless and beaten, drifted helplessly through space. The countdown to the final victory had begun, but there was no celebration yet. Earth's forces were relentless, their resolve unshakable. Every strike, every blow sent a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be a footnote in the history of the cosmos. They were rewriting the story now, and the Galactic Council's empire would become nothing more than a distant memory. This was humanity's time. The battle was nearly won. The Galactic Empire, once so vast and powerful, was on the brink of extinction, and the entire galaxy would soon witness the birth of a new era, one where humanity stood as the dominant force in the universe. As Earth's ships advanced, General Kale stood at the helm of his flagship, looking out over the battlefield. The Galactic Council had made its final plea, and humanity had answered. The final victory was within reach, and there was no turning back. The moment had arrived. After days of relentless combat, the Galactic Council's last fleet, once a symbol of terror and dominance, was reduced to mere debris floating aimlessly in the void of space. The Council's once powerful ships, once brimming with arrogance, had been systematically torn apart by Earth's fleet, each blow carrying with it the weight of humanity's undying resolve. General Kale stood at the helm of his flagship, his gaze fixed on the vastness of space. The stars twinkled serenely, as though they too recognized the significance of the moment. The battle was over. Humanity had emerged victorious, and the Galactic Council's dreams of conquering Earth were shattered. As Cal surveyed the battlefield, his thoughts turned to the countless soldiers, engineers, and civilians who had made this victory possible. It wasn't just the military that had secured Earth's place in the galaxy. It was the entire human race. From the scientists who had developed the technologies that allowed Earth's fleet to function, to the civilians who had supported the war effort from home, humanity had come together like never before. The triumph was theirs, all of theirs. "We've done it," Captain Lyra, his trusted second-in-command, said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Kale responded, his tone reflective, but resolute. "But this is just the beginning." The fleet continued its advance through space, each ship a reminder of humanity's strength and unity. As Earth's forces drew closer to the remnants of the Galactic Council's flagship, a final transmission was received. It was not from the Council, but from the rest of the galaxy, from the other species who had been watching, waiting to see how humanity would respond to this test. "Humanity," came the voice over the communication channel. It was a voice unfamiliar to Kale, but one that carried the weight of 1,000 generations of beings who had watched from afar. "We have witnessed your strength, your resilience. You have proven yourselves worthy. The galaxy recognizes you now, not as a simple species, but as the new force in this universe. You will no longer be underestimated." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Kale to contemplate its meaning. It wasn't just the Galactic Council that had seen Earth's power. The galaxy itself had watched, and humanity's victory had made an impact on every corner of the cosmos. The realization struck Kale like a lightning bolt. The balance of power had shifted forever. Humanity was no longer a young, struggling species fighting to survive. They were now the dominant force in the galaxy, a force that would shape the future of the cosmos. "We've made our mark," Kale muttered to himself, a faint smile creeping across his face. The victory celebrations were short-lived. There was no time to bask in glory. Humanity had a new role to play. With the Galactic Council crushed and its remnants scattered to the stars, the universe was now a blank slate, one where humanity could carve its own path. The first step toward that future began as Earth's fleet set a course for the Galactic Council's former capital. It was no longer a seat of power. It was a symbol of an empire that had crumbled under its own weight. But now, humanity would establish a new order. They would rebuild a galaxy that had been torn apart by greed, war, and tyranny. The first contact had already been made, and it was a message of strength. The galaxy would no longer fear the Galactic Council. It would now look to humanity, to Earth, for guidance. "We have much to do," Kale said, turning to Captain Lyra. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy must be rebuilt, and humanity will be the ones to lead it." The fleet continued its march, and the message spread like wildfire. Humanity, once a species at the edge of the universe, had become the center of it all. The entire galaxy now knew that Earth had arrived, not as a subject to be ruled, but as a force of nature, unstoppable and unyielding. The Galactic Empire was no more. The age of humanity had begun. As Earth's fleet sailed deeper into the heart of space, Kel couldn't help but think of the words that had been spoken by the mysterious voice from the galaxy. You will no longer be underestimated. Humanity's strength had been proven. The Galactic Empire had underestimated them, but that would be their final mistake. The galaxy would now look to Earth not for subjugation, but for leadership. The time for peace and cooperation had come, and humanity would lead the charge. Earth was not just a planet in a corner of the universe anymore. It was the beating heart of a new era. The end of one empire marked the rise of another. The galaxy was no longer controlled by the few. Humanity had taken its place at the top. And with that, Earth's fleet surged forward, ready to reclaim the galaxy for the future of all species, no longer as conquerors, but as the new guardians of the cosmos. This was the dawn of a new age, and the universe had been forever changed.